Hey guys, I'm Steve and welcome back to the channel where we talk about the joys of stock market investing and long-term dividend gain. If it's your first time stopping by the channel, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't regret it. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. Guys, I'm going to talk a little bit about the CPI, right? And it stands for Consumer Price Index. Now, a lot of people hear the word CPI because, we're dealing with this inflationary thing, and they don't really know what the word means. So I just wanted to, to the best of my ability, explain it to you, the viewer, so you can get a better understanding of what it means, how it affects us as a society, and what measures the government or the Fed is actually doing to try to get down the inflation cost and why the CPI score is so important. Now, like I said, CPI stands for Consumer Price Index, right? And basically it's a measurement of like the current change in consumer pricing, like, what the companies are doing as far as, in the shopping market, in the consumer market, of what the prices are doing. Are the prices increasing, with all of these rate hikes? And it tells the government, it tells the government, not the government, the Fed, the first line of defense, which they're doing rate hikes, if it's working or not, basically. So, it does this by analyzing a basket of consumer goods and services, the pricing of it, to see if the prices are being raised. Now, like I said, they raised when we had inflation, right? Like we had 8.3% or 8.2% right now. We're trying to get down to 2%, right? So the first thing the Fed does is they raise interest rates, short-term loans and, things like that. Increase the rate hike. So it's harder to finance things, because what it is, basically the Fed is trying to get us to stop spending money. Because, you can't run around here and say, hey, public service announcement, stop spending money. It's impossible. So these are little methods they do by making it harder to get loans. Like you see, in a recent article I seen, a lot of people are trying to get loans now with so-so credit, and they're being denied. So it's part of the Fed raising these rates because the lenders are scared they're not going to get the money back, or it's too risky of an investment for them to get the money back. So it's one of those things where they just, are the interest rates is showing that it's making some type of dent into this thing, even though we got a long way to go. So, like I said, it deals with a basket of consumer goods and services, which are basically different sectors of spending that the American consumer goes through, or in other places, other countries. Now, these particular sectors, if I can remember right, are food and beverage, housing, recreation, the way we spend money. Now, all these are different avenues of spending that go into the CPI. Let me say that. So this is what they look at. So these are all the logs of every time you make a purchase, it gets registered, and this is what they're going by. So it's food and beverage, housing, recreation, we got clothing, transportation, medical care, and education, right? So those are is the basket of different sectors of spending that they're looking at, right? Now the top three, if I'm not mistaken, are food, transportation, and housing. Now the reason why I think, food they would look at, because, like you and I know, the food prices are starting to raise up, right? Especially on import stuff. And also housing, are people, are there rent increases? Are, people still renting at a higher rate, renting apartments? Same thing with houses. Are they buying houses? That's why, this thing affects the housing market as well. Transportation is a big one. Now with transportation, you might say, well, why is transportation one of the top three? Are people buying cars? How much fuel are you using to get back and forth to work? What if you catch the train to work? How much of a cost is that on the economy? All these things, guys, are measured. I mean, to the fullest too. You know, they don't leave no stone unturned with this, because they're trying to get this inflation down by any means necessary. Now, the CPI is the one that they go by the most. And it's the one where it has a lot of debate too, because a lot of people say, well, the stuff that the baskets of stock could be subject to, not change, but, subject to debate. And that's one of the reasons why they say, oh, well, the CPI numbers could or could not. But what a lot of people don't know is the CPI is just one index. They have, I think it's 4 other indexes. They have one called the PPI. They have one called the IPP, one called the ECI, and, we have the standard GDP, gross domestic product, right? So PPI, from my understanding, is production inflation. It measures, now all these are measuring tools. Like, the CPI is consumer pricing, right? It measures consumer pricing and inflation. Then you have PPI, which is production inflation. How much it's costing to produce goods and services, right? That's another sign they look at. Then you have IPP, which is import export. Now, import export is like, things coming in and things going out of the country, and how inflation is affecting them. That's another scale they go by. ECI, which is the labor market. How much is it costing each company to employ an employee, or, are they cutting costs and trying to keep production high, but reduce manpower? And then you have the GDP, which is all of the spending, for the whole nation, including government and institutions. So it's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and each of those, indexes by themselves, you can make a video on and talk about that individually, but it all comes into the CPI, and the CPI numbers are relevant to a lot of that stuff that they're watching, right? Now, tomorrow we have these numbers for the CPI, right? And it's going to tell the Fed what's the next step of what they're going to do. Are they going to raise the interest points, which is predicted that they are, and we're going to have further fall in the stock market, and it's to be expected. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about this CPI, because a lot of people hear about it and they don't know what it is. And I just did a little bit of research on it, from a little bit of what I know, and then a little bit of, the other indexes that go into, that they also look at as well in times of inflation. And another thing is, it's updated every February. They update it because the stocks in the basket change. Not the stocks. They revise the basket. Because there's constantly new goods and services being brought on, into the environment. So yearly they got to redo this, because it has an impact on what percentage each of the basket stocks, like food, beverage, transportation, all that, they all are subject to change. So the Fed's got their hands full with doing this situation and getting this thing down. And now, I'm starting to understand why it takes so long for inflation to drop, and it takes years, because they got to keep track of all of that stuff, and they got to keep all that stuff in order. So it gives a new dynamic to me personally about, man, this thing's going to be around for a while. But this is not really an investment video. It has something to do with investment. I just want to talk a little bit about this with us having the upcoming report tomorrow, and I just thought it'd be cool to talk about it. Usually this reports hit the hit TV, or are announced around the time the market opens anyway, around 8:30. It's always at 8:30, and they report every month. So let's hope for the best, baby. Pray for the worst tomorrow, guys. But that's all I wanted to chime in on and talk a little bit about. Man, I wanted to educate somebody about the CPI. Give a better description. I hope I described it as best I did it as best I could, but hopefully you got the gist of what it is, and it gave you a better understanding of how it goes. So as always, guys, man, subscribe, share, like, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Thanks for spending the rest of spending this part of your day with me, and I'll see you in the next video.